with the scent of potpourri. The films we commit to memory. Crossing the felt ropes, watching from home on my TV, looking at all my eyes can see. They tell me I view obsessively.
Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer, a weekly podcast reviewing 2 new or recent release titles every episode with an occasional free-for-all segment at the end that we call Potpourri. I'm your host, Matt Hurt, and you can find more of my work, including my written reviews, full episode show notes, and the complete backlog of our episodes and spin-off podcasts at obsessiveviewer.com. You can also follow me on Letterboxd and other social media platforms at the username of Obsessive Viewer. And if you'd like to support us and get access to hundreds of exclusive episodes as well as early release content of the main episodes, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Recently on Patreon, we just recorded an OV-B-roll recording where we talked at length about what guest Brent dubbed, since I haven't announced him yet, unhealthy skepticism and influencers and critics and Apple and F1 the movie. So that like detailed analysis and everything is over at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. And there's a ton of other content over there. And if you don't want to support us on Patreon, or if you want to support us without messing with Patreon, or if you just want to, make a quick donation, you can always go to buymeacoffee.com/obsessiveviewer and buy me a coffee. So that's at buymeacoffee.com/obsessiveviewer. So this week on the show, I'm going to be reviewing the new Netflix sequel, The Old Guard 2, in this week's secondary review. But before that, we're going to go over some movie news and Indianapolis screenings before reviewing the latest installment in the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World franchise, Jurassic World Rebirth, in this week's feature review. And even though I spoiled his appearance earlier in that spiel, joining me once again is my friend and IFJ colleague, whose work can be found at awakeinthedark.com, and he can be followed on Letterboxd at the handle of Awake in the Dark. It's Brent Leuthold. Welcome back to the show, Brent. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me back again.
Of course. Thank you for joining me for an early recording. This is nice because full disclosure for the listeners, I have not watched The Old Guard 2 yet. I'm going to be watching that after we record, and then I'm going to record my review, and then I'm going to release the episode, and that is the game plan for this evening. So that's what's on the docket. Brent, over at awakeinthedark.com, you have done some reviewing. You reviewed Jurassic World Rebirth, Megan 2.0, F1 the movie, and you reviewed The Life of Chuck, but I think there was like a worm in your brain. Yeah, there was a glitch. Yeah, it wasn't the glowing review that everyone.
I had a glitch. I was the glitch.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, you contain multitudes, and I actually, I told you this before privately, but I really liked your review. Like, even though I think I said, I don't agree with your review, but I'll defend with my death your right to review it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a really good review, and yeah, I'm glad that you saw it. I'm glad that everyone's seeing it because it's a great one for me. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that I wanted to like it. I went in really knowing very little about it overall.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad I saw it. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad it's resonating with certain people for sure. And I think, for better or worse, that is such a kind of rare thing where you will be able to say now and forever that movie is underrated.
Oh, yes.
Because people often, that word, I feel like I'm such a whatever cultural high horse today. Sure. That word underrated is thrown around a lot in regards to movies that have overwhelming critical approval.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm talking specifically ones in the 21st century. But even beyond that, or before that too. But whatever. I can't even think of an example right now, but like movies that consistently have over 90% of whatever Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, and people say like that's underrated. It's like, well, maybe I think they typically mean underseen.
Yes,
is what they mean.
I also the cynic in me, the old man cynic in me, because I turned 39 last week. The old man cynic in me is also I've talked about this before, but I will see someone post something online and I'll have to remind myself that, oh, kids are online now. Like people that are a decade younger than me who are adults are online now. They have a different lived experience from me. So like when I see someone say like, oh my God, why is no one talking about, this really underseen movie Titanic? It's because their life, they didn't grow up with, the phenomenon of like Titanic or phenomenon for that matter. So I have to remind myself of that as an old man.
Edge of Tomorrow is a good example. That movie, I think, disappointed box office wise at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave people license to say, oh, this movie's underrated.
Yeah.
Well, the critics, first of all, it didn't do that poorly at the box office,
right?
But the critics who saw it liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people usually conflate those terms. Not to rub salt in the wound, but either way, you'd be able to say underseen or underrated because it didn't do well at the box office either. But it actually is like a true, like a divisive movie critically too. And so I don't know. I think that's actually like, that to me is kind of like the dinosaur, so to speak, now where it's like, that is it's not as common these days. I feel like where stuff can come out, actually get a pretty sizable release as that one did, and people aren't totally sure about how they feel about it. And I think that'll be one that I could see that doing well on Hulu, people coming to that movie and having second life on like streaming services or what have you.
Oh yeah. The Life of Chuck.
Yes.
Second Life of Chuck. Yeah, absolutely. And I will be streaming the hell of it when it comes out because I love that movie. If it was playing in the AMC near me, I would go see it again, but it's not, so I probably won't. But yeah, you also reviewed F1 the movie and Megan 2.0, which was originally going to be the secondary review this week, but I did not get around to seeing it. So what do you think of Megan 2.0?
I didn't really care for it. I knew there was going to be a genre switch. I just kind of hoped they would have done it better.
Sure.
But clearly going for Terminator 2 kind of switch up where the antagonist of the first movie is now your protagonist, but no. And it was super, super convoluted. And I think one of those sequels that kind of misunderstands what makes the first one work.
Sure.
I mentioned Joker Folie à Deux in my review. It is not quite that much of it's not that bad, but necessarily it's not very good either. But regardless, it's not that much of a like left turn because I think there's still a blueprint for it and something like Terminator 2. But yeah, it's just like one of those sequels that just doesn't really work because it's just not. It doesn't have enough of the DNA of the first one in it. Really.
Okay. Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, because I remember liking the first one, or at least enjoying my time with the first one. So yeah, I'll probably see it.
I liked
tomorrow.
it well enough. I mean, the first one well enough, but yeah, it's I mean, I think I think there are some folks out there who won't mind the pivot. There are some people who might even like it more. I know Josh Larson gave like a 4 out of 5 or something.
Wow.
He liked it better than the first one, which there may be those folks out there. I just was not one of them. I think she works better as a kind of child's play sort of like, sort of Chucky sort of thing, not like her being like a kick-ass robot. It's not even really a very good kick-ass robot movie. That's my opinion. Yeah, it's mainly just a lot of like AI garbage. Talk about AI and stuff. To
To be fair, I am AI, so I took offense
Well, I didn't mean
Yeah.
offense. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's
Please remember me fondly during the singularity. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I will. I'll remember you fondly as I destroy you.
That's kind of one of the things with the movie, not to go too much on too long on it, but like it's one of those classic things where it's like these creatures, whatever, these robots are like so powerful. They're like ridiculously overpowered in terms of what we understand that they can do. And yet it's like they still have to like do hand-to-hand combat. It's like, okay,
Sure.
we know that that's because it's an action movie, but it's like this movie should be 2 minutes long, based on what we understand they're capable of.
Right.
So one of those things. Yeah.
That vaguely reminds me of the Forgetting Sarah Marshall bit where they're talking about the movie that oh my god, why can't I think? Kristen Bell's character was in. That's clearly a riff on the movie that she was in. I think what was it?
One Missed Call or
One
whatever.
Missed Call, yeah. Where it's like
yeah.
just like turn off the phone, and you're like your cell phone can kill you. Like just turn it off. The movie's over. So I don't know. It's
very much one of those movies. Like they can hack, of course, anything. They can turn on car. They can do all this stuff. And,
yeah.
She's limited. Megan is limited at first in terms of body, but once she's kind of out of the GDs, out of the power can worms, or any metaphor you want to go with, then it's like, okay, well, she can do anything, and then this Amelia antagonist can do anything, and it's just it's boring, like Terminator 2. Like, yeah, the T-1000 can make weapons, his hands into weapons, but he can't like hack into whatever ridiculously anything.
Right.
Anyway, it's just different.
Oh. Well, that you can read Brent's reviews of those previously mentioned movies over at awakeinthedark.com. Brent, would you mind if I talk a little bit about what's playing in Indy this week?
Go for it.
Nice. Okay, so I want to start off by talking about Alamo Drafthouse just really quickly. Of course, Lou Harry's movie trivia is on the first and third Sunday of the month, and I believe that this weekend will be one of those first Sundays. So check that out at 6 p.m. It's free to join in the kind of lounge area of Alamo Drafthouse. It's movie trivia. Go alone or with a group, whatever, and tell them that the obsessive viewer sent you. I'm gonna make it to one of those soon, I promise. So yeah, some more information on that is at drafthouse.com/cinema/Indianapolis or whatever the URL is. Anyway, elsewhere in Alamo Drafthouse, this weekend they're starting the 41st anniversary of This Is Spinal Tap, and on Tuesday they're going to be showing Attack the Block. So that's over at Alamo Drafthouse in Indianapolis. And over at the Can. So I have a mea culpa. First, I didn't realize when recording last week's episode that the 4K 40th anniversary restoration screenings of Ron, Akira Kurosawa's 1985 masterpiece, a loose adaptation of King Lear that I reviewed over on our friends Andy and Logan at Odd Trilogies, on their podcast. But anyway, Ron is currently playing the 4K 40th anniversary restoration over at Can. I got to CC it over at the Can on Sat. And it was a blast. I'm done with that, I promise. No, it was...
Matt, I know, I'm worried for you.
It was an absolute blast. It's playing throughout this next week. I might try to go see it again. I'm not sure. I can't commit to that. But it's so... I was filled with joy that the Can exists, because that theater has now afforded me 3 opportunities to see Kurosawa movies on screen. Like, I saw Seven Samurai there twice, and now I've seen Ron there, and I'm hoping that someday they'll get Throne of Blood. That would be amazing to see on the big screen. But I feel like that would be like the 60th anniversary or whatever, 60th or 70th, I don't know, in 2027. So we've got a couple of years for that. But anyway, Ron is playing at the Can, link in the show notes and elsewhere in the Can. Jesus, I keep saying elsewhere, but Brent, I think you will appreciate this. Starting this weekend and running, I think just this weekend or maybe into next week, is the 25th anniversary of In the Mood for Love. You're a fan of that movie, or am I making that up?
Yeah. Most definitely.
Yes. So that is also playing at the Can. So check that out. Also check out Living Room Theaters, Keystone Art, all of that. Also at Flix Brew House on the through the from the July 7th through the 10th. They're playing Minions, and Scream is gonna be situated on July 8th. So go check out Minions between the 7th and the 10th, and somewhere in between there, squeeze in Scream, the original. So that's what's all playing at around Indianapolis. Also, real quick, the last one actually. Once again, the Waiting Game documentary that we awarded in the IFJ, the Hoosier Award. The Waiting Game is screening in at the Can at 7 p.m. on July 10th. That's next Thursday. So link in the show notes to get tickets. Go check it out at the Can. The Waiting Game. I really enjoyed that documentary. Brent, did you watch The Waiting Game?
No, I still need to see that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's bad because it's been a bit. So I really don't have a good excuse.
I mean, no,
excuse.
It's not bad. It's just like I'm in my head. I'm like, last week I asked Mitch if he saw it, and he said he didn't see it either.
Yeah,
so
that's bad.
I swear, multiple people in the IFJ saw this documentary, and we awarded it the Hoosier Award. I'm not delusional about that.
No. The people that are good and responsible in the IFJA they saw it. Yeah.
Yes, the people that are good and responsible, and me. So
you said I want to be in it too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's on July 10th at 7 p.m. at Can Theater. The Waiting Game. It's a great documentary. Brent, anything about those screenings that I described, or do you want to go to news before the reviews?
I'm coming down to see Minions.
Nice. That's good. I'm
just doing it.
I'm gonna take a whole big group of kids. I'm gonna go on the 8th and get the theaters switched up and accidentally take them into Scream, so that I can create the next generation of Matt Hertz, who watched Scream at a very young age, and then
that's a decent ploy. I think that's pretty good,
right? Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that would work. That'd work. By the way, I'm gonna need some bail money, from the sound of it. So
you surprising a bunch of kids, what could go wrong?
Yeah. Oh yeah, kidnapping them. Anyway. So that's what's all playing in Indianapolis. Check the show notes for links to all of this information and all these theaters. Those show notes are also available at obsessiveviewer.com/OV481. And I got a couple of news items to talk about. We can talk about these briefly, Brent. But are you ready for news before the reviews?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first one is brief because I haven't watched The Bear, but it was renewed for season 5. So that's kind of a no-brainer because it's a really popular show. I believe you're currently watching The Bear ? Okay. And he's nodding his head yes. And how do you feel about it? Is it good? Should I take the plunge and dive in?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I am, 8 episodes of 10 into season 4. We will probably finish it here either tonight or tomorrow.
Nice.
I really like it. I'm not saying every season has been of equal quality, but I've liked every season. This one, I think season 3, people started to get a little frustrated with, and there are fireworks going off. So
that's fine.
Ebert's going to be working for literally the rest of the recording.
It's okay.
But regardless, season 3, I think got a little, the thing about the show, to me, I think it's always been this way. It's very loose with chronology and characters.
Oh, interesting.
There are just a lot of characters, and they're very, in my opinion, typically pretty subtle in terms of when stuff is happening.
Oh, interesting.
Like there'll be flashbacks, or like a whole episode will be a flashback, and you don't really realize it until maybe like 10 minutes in.
Oh. And it's a half-hour show. right?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. It's honestly a show I'd say for that reason alone, you kind of have to pay attention to, even though besides that, it's about this guy and his family, and coerced to, starting this restaurant, continuing this restaurant, evolving this restaurant in downtown Chicago. But I really liked it. I think people get put off sometimes by how season 3, especially, I think there was one specific storyline that I think it draws out too much.
Okay.
And it ended on a cliffhanger, wasn't totally the most satisfying finale, but all that to say, like, I really like it. I think it's just a really well acted show. I personally like the detours that it takes and the kind of tangents, and there'll be one episode that'll just focus on maybe these two characters, or just focus on like this storyline and just like, or this point of this person's life, maybe. I don't know. To me, it's kind of always been that show. It's not a show that I'm always like, it would be different if it was a procedural or like a mystery show. I would probably have stopped watching by now.
Sure.
Because it's very circuitous in how it tells its story.
Okay.
But for the kind of show it is, I was telling Aubrey last night, it's almost like a hangout show to me. Like, I just like these characters. I like not knowing where an episode is going to start or end. I like seeing who's going to pop up. I won't say anything about season 4, but just generally, this is season 1 through 3 and 4 as well. People will pop up and you're like, how did they get that person? They don't normally do TV or these kind of shows or anything like that.
You can say one of them. It's Diddy.
Diddy, yeah. John Cena does pop up for a little bit in season 3. So like, just there's like, I mean, that's just like literally one off the top of my head, but like, not even people that it's not even like cameos necessarily, but like there's there's an episode where there's a lot of characters in season 4 and like people come back and you realize, like, oh my God, like there's all these like recognizable faces in their family. Anyway, all that to say, it's just, I like the show for what it is. I have not seen the finale yet, so we'll see if it ends kind of on another cliffhanger, but I really dig it. I think it reminds me of, well, not reminds me, it is like an FX show that / Hulu, I know, but like it reminds me of Louie, really, which is like a show that kind of goes its own way and kind of can kind of stand to be more like adventurous and like, you never know kind of how an episode's going to start or end. With that, you're anchored more with, of course, like Louis, he's going to be like the main character and how that's sort of, but it's like even more, I think, ambitious than something like that. But it's cool. I like to see a show that just like, that can really surprise you. And I think it's definitely a rare thing. So anyway, yeah, definitely a fan of The Bear.
Nice. I will definitely have to check out The Bear. And I shouldn't make this joke. I'm so sorry. But when you were talking about Louis, I wanted to say like, oh yeah, you never knew where that show was going, and then it kind of confronts you in a room backstage and forces itself on you,
or on the phone, we can't know. That's a show that, I mean, and we don't need to go down that road, but like it, anyway, he talks a lot about that sort of stuff that he. Anyway, in a weird way, it's kind of foreshadowed on the show. Not that it makes it acceptable or okay, but it's
okay.
I was thinking more just of like, I mean, almost like Justified as well. I mean, if you go back and look at like a lot of FX shows, like there's something about like some of their series that very much are just like. Yeah, like again, you turn on an episode and you don't kind of know where it's going to head. So I like that. I like that spontaneous kind of nature of really any series. So.
That's really interesting because until you were making that connection here with the FX shows, like I never really connected that with FX, but like the kind of driving force of a lot of the FX shows that I watched, like The Shield, one of my favorite shows. Like, it does have that kind of that wild, like, you know, not knowing where it's going to end up, ending on cliffhanger sort of thing. And that's interesting.
Even like AMC, I'm thinking of like AMC in terms of like, because I'm the connector there being like cable series, you know, Breaking Bad certainly was a show they talked about like writing themselves in corners.
Yes.
You know, Mad Men to an extent. So, you know, it's like just this idea that it's like, and I'm probably forgetting a lot of other shows that this pertains to, but anyway, all that to say that it's, to me, it's a show that I think it just depends on what your expectations are of it. And I think maybe it's that the first couple seasons were just more tightly plotted, but I think maybe people are thinking like, well, no, get to it and answer these things and that sort of stuff. I will say, just as a little nugget, I do think season 4 is more focused on storylines and through lines than like season 3 was.
Oh, okay.
So if maybe you saw season 3 and you're like, nah, I'm you know, whatever. I think, you know, season 4 is kind of a return to form of that a little bit, although it still does take some pretty big swings. So
nice. Well, yeah, I will check out The Bear eventually. Yeah, so cool. The next piece of news that I have is Last of Us. Shocker. Neil Druckmann has exited the series ahead of season 3. So Neil Druckmann is the co-creator and director of the video games The Last of Us. He has been the co-showrunner for The Last of Us seasons 1 and 2, along with Craig Mazin. He's directed several episodes. He's been like a driving force for the show, of course. And he announced today that he is going to step back. He's not going to write or direct any episodes in season 3. He's going to focus his attention on the game studio, Naughty Dog, that he runs. And they're working on their new IP, Intergalactic Heretic or something, which looks awesome as a video game. But it's really, this is kind of shocking to me, because Neil Druckmann is, like, I love Craig Mazin. I think he has the pedigree and everything. And I'm sure that he is a big reason why The Last of Us as a TV show adaptation of a video game works so incredibly well. But one of the things that struck me about season 1 of The Last of Us and what I've seen of season 2, I'm still far behind, but it's the commitment to adapting the video game plots, because Naughty Dog Studios, they are very much narrative-driven games. So The Last of Us is incredibly narrative-driven, and the show follows that plot, follows that storyline so closely, and pays it so, pays it such reverence. And I've got to assume that Neil Druckmann is the driving force of that commitment to authenticity to the source material. And so him exiting ahead of season 3, which, spoiler alert, I guess, season 3 is going to be basically telling the back half of The Last of Us Part 2, which, if you know, you know. But the second half of Part 3 is going to take up season 3 of the show. And then after that, you know, there's no material to adapt. So I'm curious what season 3 is going to look like. Brent, what did you make of this news, this bombshell news today about Neil Druckmann and The Last of Us?
Yeah, speaking of series that people have very strong opinions about, yeah, you know, I don't really know what to make of the news. I think if he's focusing on Naughty Dog stuff, that makes sense. Man, I don't know. I mean, I'll tiptoe around this and just say season 2 I liked overall. I definitely liked the first season more. The very end of the season 2 finale, I would say like the last 10 minutes, I was pretty disappointed in, to the extent that I kind of just don't even know what season 3 is going to look like. Yeah. I'll watch it, like I'll stay on board. But it's like one of those, this is more a show where I think it's probably going to stay on longer than it probably, it seems like it's so specific because it's adapting something that is so, you know, popular, that people are really familiar with. And I think they just have to be careful in how they're they're adapting it. Now, I will say I've not played either of the games, so I don't know any of this. I'm not familiar with the source material, but I know a lot of people, again, have played the games. They're familiar with it. So I think if this is the kind of show that you have stay on for 6 or 7 seasons just because it's popular, I think you could piss a lot of people off.
Oh, yeah.
So, we'll see. I think it's well done. I still like the season 2 overall. Definitely narratively takes some big swings that, again, as someone who has not played the game or just kind of goes in taking the show for what it is, certainly surprised me. But
big swings,
but
indeed.
yeah, for sure. So anyway, it's something I'll still stick with, but I'm definitely going in more cautiously with season 3 because it's just a lot of the show is just like what it is at its core. I feel like could very fundamentally be different.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what they do.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And it's so interesting too because what you said about getting out of like source material stuff, like not wanting it to be run into the ground, that is so interesting because I feel like the series I feel like HBO is maybe setting things up to not learn from the mistakes of Game of Thrones. They went far into the books. They didn't get, once they ran out of source material, that's where the show is widely considered to have started getting wobbly. And then the end run of the show is like pretty well maligned throughout the internets. But I feel like that could definitely be the case with Last of Us if they stretch it out past the source material, because having played both games, it's really interesting. I think that they obviously made the very correct decision with how they're splitting up the story. It's not, hopefully not too much of a spoiler to say it is following, from what I understand, because I haven't seen season 2 proper, but what I understand is following the structure of the games very closely once again. So the way that the games are set up, the way that part 2 is set up, is it very much lends itself to a 2-season arc for a variety of reasons. And what's interesting to me is like playing the game. Once I got to that point, it kind of became a little bit of a drag until I understood like what the game was going for narratively. And like, I honestly think those 2 games, like the complete story that's told over those 2 games is beautiful and stunning and profound and very like really interesting and human, about human nature and about grief and the capacity for vengeance or to not do vengeance, and like how you process things. It's like really, really good stuff. And presumably if they complete the storyline for after season 3, I don't know where they go from there. I don't know what's next. I don't know how they will. I don't know what path they could take that would expand the universe further without compromising what makes this complete story of The Last of Us parts 1 and 2 so unique and character driven and narratively focused. So I don't know how they're going to like extend that past what's already been told through Naughty Dog games. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about the bear and then this show back to back, because that's The Last of Us is a show that again has like a lot of familiar faces. I was shocked with that, like how I'm speaking very generally here about, okay, both seasons, how willing they are to not keep folks around who might be familiar faces. Like there are very surprising like story beats within the series. Not that people die off on the bear, but like
sure.
I think where people pop up, like it's a surprising show.
From what I understand, there's a character on the bear that goes to space and comes back as like a rock thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, okay. Now we're cooking.
Yeah.
Now we're cooking. It's, I mean, and so that's kind of compare and contrast with what I was saying with Bear. Like that to me is a hangout show where not that the storylines don't matter. They do to me, but it's because it can take tangents and everything, but I think it can be kind of more free flowing. Whereas if you look at like The Last of Us, like long time, that's an extremely ambitious standalone episode that is surprising and great TV. I'm not saying it shouldn't like be in there, but it functions differently when you have a show like that, where it's like it's different because it's more traditional storytelling in terms of like, you have like an end goal and like what's going to happen. And the threat is a lot more present, where the Bear is the threat, or the antagonist is basically time, or themselves, whereas The Last of Us is like, you have a pressing threat with the, they're not the undead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they're
cordyceps
infected
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Or anyway,
Sure.
regardless. So anyway, like, and that's kind of what I meant when I said a few minutes ago that like, if the things I'm praising the Bear for, I couldn't really praise maybe a more traditional storytelling show for. And I think that's exactly what I'm talking about with The Last of Us. I don't think it, they're different shows, but all that to say, I think there just needs to be a conversation around how to end shows and start shows with an end in mind, for the love of God.
Oh, absolutely.
And like we saw that with Squid Game recently, which I have not seen the third season, but I have seen the first two. And that just, to me, totally reads the show as like the fan base. Stranger Things, certainly another one where it's like the fan base and the popularity by far outstretched what they actually had in the tank narratively.
Yes.
So, I just, all that to say, wrapping up what we're talking about with Last of Us, I just hope that whatever direction they go with it, whether they do 3 seasons, 4, 5, 20, like just have an idea how you're going to end things, no matter how popular it is.
Yes. Map it out. Like, please, for the love of God. And like, that's the thing, that I understand that it's a business and everything and all the marketing and stuff, whatever. I understand the business side of it, but the creative side of it is what drives the business side of things to like at its core. And like it's not necessarily that I don't understand it, but what I'm frustrated by is that like Naughty Dog is an amazing video game company, developer. They have The Last of Us. It is massively successful. It's great and everything. They also have Uncharted. They have a full franchise of Uncharted stuff. Like, why not? And I don't know how rights are distributed and everything and all of that. And of course, we have the Uncharted movie. But like, why not just do The Last of Us, adapt it, and then trust that The Last of Us fans will gravitate toward like a big Uncharted adaptation from the same creative people? Like, why stick to something to drag it out? Like the freaking Walking Dead. Why drag something out so long? And granted, they haven't done that yet with The Last of Us, but like you said, there's, why create stuff when presumably the gas gauge is on E? Instead of filling the tank.
I agree with you. I think, if people, with the, Uncharted and these other, acclaimed video games, if you're going to adapt it, that's great. People are into it. That's awesome. It's what everyone wants. It's what we want. But, just don't have stuff go forever and outstretch, where the source material is for. That just is never a great position to be in.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Like of course, I'll throw this out there. The Dark Tower series that Mike Flanagan's working on. Of course, there are 7-8 books total, and they tie into a bunch of Stephen King stuff. So I don't know what I'm saying with that, but I mean, it's good. Like we'll have them on watch. You're saying
do it right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But I have one more piece of news, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time or anything. But this can be quick. But AMC Theaters has made the news recently with them talking about, I think today, as of today, July 2nd, they're putting more commercials before screenings. Some screenings are going to have up to half an hour worth of ads and pre-roll stuff before the movie starts. They've also added like a disclaimer on the app saying that 20 to 25 minutes until the actual showtime. Brent, as someone who sees movies in the theater all the time as well, how do you feel about this? And I have a conspiracy theory about it, but how do you feel about this news? And then I'll blow your mind.
25 to 30 is typically what I usually about assume for pre-roll. Maybe 20 to 25 is maybe what I would have thought before this news, I guess. So my thing is, look, I get people, I mean, to me, it's almost a separate conversation about whatever the pre-roll and the whole trailers and commercials and all that stuff. My thing is, honestly, if they're giving people that expectation, I think that's actually good because at least you have it in writing. At least it's like we're all on the same page. Because I mean, let's face it, before a week ago or whatever, so it's like people were just kind of guessing on pre-roll, based on what we all just kind of understood from movie going, So I think to say like it will start roughly 25 to 30 minutes after the stated showtime. I actually think that's actually pretty good. I actually think every theater should do that. So I would say that.
Like with the advent of reserved seating and everything like that also makes it less cumbersome for like people like coming into a dark theater and trying to find their seat because they can just find their exact seat and everything. Are you ready for me to blow your mind?
Please.
Okay.
Always.
So my theory, and this is, I'm like maybe 40% serious here, but my theory is that AMC, since they have just recently, within the last couple of months, upped the A-list number of reservations to 4 movies a week, they are now trying to create a system in which there is a tiny bit less availability of showtimes for A-list power users. So like if you see 2 movies a day or even 3 movies a day, maybe you'll have less chances of overlap or less chances of seeing 2 back to back because there's an extended pre-roll before it. Maybe the time will change a little bit. So maybe that's a certain way to kind of keep to oppress people like me who have no life aside from going to the theater.
Oppress.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now that is a wrong theory.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, but if the idea is that they want to get fewer showtimes out of theaters, I can't roll with you on that one, dog.
Not necessarily fewer showtimes. I'm saying fewer overlapping more overlapping showtimes. So like, I don't know how.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if a movie starts, granted, this is all conjecture in my part, but I'll send you the 4chan link and everything and the deep dive and everything on the dark web.
Yeah.
But my thought is if this means that they could just eat the time in terms of like cleaning the theater and everything, the time between and everything. But if there's like a screening at like 4:30 and then a screening at 6:30, with that increase, maybe I'm not saying it right. Maybe I'm also talking myself out of it. But like, are they going to have to like? Because they would have to do like, will the time be stretched out to where like, oh, I can't see a 6:30 show because this 2-hour movie at 4:30 has half an hour of stuff. Is the app going to let me see 6:30 using A-list? Or is it going to count as being overlapping from a previous screening?
I would go with you on this theory this far. They are wasting everyone's time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I don't just mean trying to go down 4 and 8chan message boards with that. But I mean, like, that's probably about roughly 5 or maybe even 10 more minutes of pre-roll than maybe they used to do, or maybe the people were expecting. So yeah, that's a whole other thing in terms of should there be commercials? Should people have to sit through that? Should people have to sit through 20 minutes of trailers, not counting commercials?
Right.
I would argue no on both counts. But, my thing is, okay, yes, I agree with all of those counts. My thing is, though, if you're theaters, then at least just have it in writing.
Yeah.
Like that. I think that is I think that actually is a good, that part of this, I think, is good news.
Nice.
But all the other stuff, I mean, I'm not going to say, of course there should be commercials before movies.
Sure.
Like, no, when am I going to say that?
As long as we never live to see the day where we get ads in movies, like ad breaks in movies. like
Oh,
a
God.
1 minute.
Don't.
Yeah. I don't
Do
even
not speak that into being, Matthew. Come on.
Yeah. Right. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
I
ad-supported theatrical experience. God,
oh my
give it a
God.
name?
I will accept full responsibility if that ever comes to pass. And I will go on record right now. If that ever happens, I will never, ever be in a theater where a movie is separated by ad breaks. Ever. No way. Bring back intermissions all you want, not ad things.
Well, they'll pitch it as intermissions. You know they will.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, God. Now I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah, well, why don't we transition over to talking about a great movie?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That has no ad breaks by form of product placement.
Right.
There's zero product placement in Jurassic World.
Let me get my M&Ms ready for our discussion of Jurassic
Lay's
World.
and Dr. Pepper.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Jurassic World Rebirth. Of course, this is our feature review. We're going to be reviewing Jurassic World Rebirth, which opens in theaters this weekend, right now, actually, July 3rd, 2025. Of course, we're going to do a non-spoiler review, and then we'll switch over to spoilers. I'll play a clip from the trailer to separate that. Of course, you can also find timestamps at obsessiveviewer.com/OV481 or in the description of the episode that you're listening to now or watching on YouTube. So, the premise, according to IMDb, for Jurassic World Rebirth is 5 years post Jurassic World Dominion. An expedition braves isolated equatorial regions to extract DNA from 3 massive prehistoric creatures for a groundbreaking medical breakthrough. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Director for the film was Gareth Edwards. Writer was David Koepp. And the cast includes Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, Rupert Friend, Mahershala Ali, Ed Skrein, Jesus, Manuel Garcia Rolfo, and Luna Blaze. And some other people, of course, as all movies do. So, Brent, going into Jurassic World Rebirth, how did you feel about the franchise, and what did you think of Rebirth?
So, I saw Jurassic World in 2015. I have not seen it since. I don't think, anyway. Maybe clips here and there. I liked it well enough. Took it for what it was. Kind of a reboot. Basically, I had not seen Jurassic Park 3 in 2000 or whatever. I've seen the first 2. So after World, I didn't, for whatever reason. A lot of this stuff comes down to timing, and I think there was other stuff coming out around Fallen Kingdom, and I just wasn't really encouraged to see it. And then by the time Dominion came around, I was like, I could see Fallen Kingdom catch up. No, like timing wise, probably both of those. Just other stuff came out that weekend, and I opted for those. It's kind of how it happens. It's kind of a Plinko thing, I feel like, with some of these franchises. So that was kind of where it was. I know these movies make a lot of money domestically. World dropped off a good bit. The between the trilogies, like World made a freaking ton of money in 2015. But then Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, there was less demand domestically for both of those. So that makes sense why they're doing this, kind of rebooting it, because they want to sort of get that interest, at least the US interest, more. All 3 of the World movies made, I think, over $1 billion worldwide. So they know there's money here. They're just trying to like figure out what to do. So let's reboot it. When I saw the trailer, I was like, well, this is like a really lazy way of doing it, I guess, because it's just like the same thing with new people. And I was just shocked to see Scarlett Johansson doing this. I'm just like, she already has done so many movies. She already makes so much money. She's very talented. She's directing her own movie that's coming out this year.
Oh,
she's going to be like in a Kristen Scott Thomas movie, or actually, I don't know if My Name is Eleanor is necessarily coming out this year, but it premiered at Cannes or something. It'll come out this year or next year. She's going to be in a Kristen Scott Thomas movie, I believe, that she's directing, like an Indy and stuff. Like, I get the whole, like, one for them, one for me, or whatever, even 2 for me. That's fine. But, like, this is just so, like, she's just better than this. Like, it was just so weird to see her in this trailer. And then, of course, people like Mahershala Ali, who's won 2 Oscars, and Jonathan Bailey, who was great in Wicked, is going to continue, I'm sure, being great in Wicked for Good. It just, seeing the trailer, I was just like, well, hope something else comes out that weekend.
Sure.
Ron Howard voiceover. Nothing else did come out that weekend.
Right.
So here we are. So I guess I was on the boat for Jurassic World Rebirth, and it's not good. I really did not like it. Mm-hmm. I get the idea that Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, Brent, you haven't seen a bad Jurassic World movie yet. It gets a lot worse. I believe you. I understand it. I'm sure it can always get worse. Anything can always get worse.
Sure.
I'm going into this movie, yes, I guess comparing it to the first Jurassic World, and boy, it's a lot worse than that. So that's where I'm at.
That's really interesting, because we are coming at this from very different perspectives.
Yes.
So my relationship with the Jurassic World franchise and Jurassic Park franchise, which I find interesting because this is throughout the run of the Obsessive Viewer podcast, I will have now, after this episode, reviewed every Jurassic World movie. So I reviewed the trilogy individually. Episode 111, episode 241 was Fallen Kingdom, and episode 372 was Dominion. And it's funny because I was really, just as an overview for the franchise, this Jurassic World franchise, I was really excited for the first Jurassic World because I was intrigued at the concept of the movie basically giving us that wish fulfillment of like a fully operational park. Like having that be the thing was really appealing to me. And there were some decent things about Jurassic World, but it wasn't quite there for me. And then Fallen Kingdom happened, and that was laughably bad once it turned into a mansion kind of haunted house thing or home invasion thing or Home Alone thing with ridiculously like parody level auctioning in terms of the numbers for what they were auctioning off these dinosaurs for. Like really, really bad. And then Dominion was like the wet fart of like an extinction level event for this franchise for me. It was irredeemably bad. So going into Rebirth, I had like the bar was on the floor.
Right.
And the bar was on the floor, and I just entered my 39th year, and I was not ready to bend down to pick it up. So
right.
I had very low expectations, and to be honest, this is what, the seventh Jurassic Park movie. I have given up hope that this franchise would ever even come close to capturing the magic of that first movie, because The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 didn't do it for me either. And that first movie is so quintessentially like imprinted on my like DNA. And it is so like, it is one of my all-time favorite movies. And like, it's to the point that it's so bizarre that like there's a full franchise that spans 30 some years, with now 7 movies, and like all, like one of them is like great, and the rest are, I could take or leave, varying degrees of quality, or not quality. So by all that to say, I went into Rebirth just expecting the bare minimum, and it actually performed pretty well for me. I thought it was fine. Like, it's nothing to really write home about. There are some issues that I have with it that we'll talk about in spoilers. But for the most part, I was pretty entertained by it. It at least grasps and understands what, on a certain level, it understands what Spielberg did well in the first couple of movies in the franchise. And by that, I mean, it has that Amblin energy. It has that like thing, even though that Amblin energy is kind of structurally weird because it's just like almost to the point where it's maybe like a second, like afterthought thing or something that this is not the case, but it feels at times the plot is so, I don't know if bifurcated is the right word, but it's so split into two very different subplots or plot lines that it feels like that the kind of Amblin-esque plot line with the family is like something that they need to rush back and do reshoots for to add to it. Like it feels that much disconnected from the main plot. But the reason why Jurassic Park and Jurassic World are so interesting is the dinosaurs, and I am not above giving this movie its credit in that there are some interesting things with dinosaurs that it does, including some stuff with the T-Rex that's pretty small, but I mean, like the things that they do with it are pretty small, but it's stuff that I haven't seen before, and I thought that was really interesting. Also, it pays homage to, in particular, the original movie, in some really respectable and respectful ways, like respectful, like Easter eggs that aren't that are subtle enough to where they're not like fan service. It's not like member berries. It's not like, oh, look at this. It's more like, oh, that calls back to that, but that's an interesting way of going about that callback because it's different from the original. So I don't know. I actually respect the movie. I thought it was good. Does that mean that I'm eager for them to reboot this franchise and further the stories of, let me check the cast list, Zora, Dr. Loomis, and company? No, because I don't think those characters are very interesting at all. But I will say honestly, there is more chemistry among that cast than there was between Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris. Oh my God, Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
There's more chemistry between the characters in this movie than there is in those movies. So I don't know. I liked it. It's not going to make my top 10 or anything, but I had a fun time in the theater. I enjoyed it. So yeah. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I would say on the note about Easter eggs, I would probably agree with you that they are subtle, because I actually didn't really notice. I guess we can maybe talk in spoilers which ones you're talking about, because I didn't notice that many. And I mean, yeah, I guess if I'm giving it credit, yeah, it's not as oh boy, what term do I even want to use? I mean, it's not as obvious as it could be about those tie-ins, clearly, because I think I might have missed some of them.
It's not dependent on it. Yeah,
exactly. And it's, that's what they were always supposed to be. Easter eggs are supposed to be things that are extra, not like you need them to follow the plot. So I will just say, if anyone's curious, like I had no issue following this plot, not only seeing World. And I think honestly, you could probably go in maybe seeing Park. Like if you've seen Park years ago, I think you'll probably be fine.
Oh, absolutely.
There's really no, I think technically there is, it technically is a sequel to Dominion, but like I said, it didn't bother going back and watching that one. So there is that. I mean, and again, I could see this movie doing well.
Yeah.
Box office wise, I could see it doing better box office than, say, like Dominion, like domestically. I think worldwide, it's people freaking love dinosaurs. I don't, there's nothing else to really say about that. It's just, they're going to keep making these movies, of course, as long as they make $1 billion.
Oh, yeah.
I just felt, for me, it just was the whole thing. It just, the machine was not cranking for me. Like it just wasn't going. Like, so World, 10 years ago, like with Pratt and like Bryce Dallas Howard and that sort of thing, like you said, and you make a great point about Jurassic World. And it's funny because that same year is Force Awakens. And that was one of the reasons I like that movie, is getting to see the Millennium Falcon move in a way we haven't seen it move. Yeah. Because of effects and because it's, and that sort of thing. That's a great point with Jurassic World. To actually see a functioning, dinosaur park is cool. So that's that I think that's a great point with World. Here we don't, see that aspect of it. It's basically effectively the kind of Jurassic Park formula where they're happening upon the islands that are almost kind of the ruins of I don't even know if I can technically say what's on the they're dinosaurs, but anyway.
Dinosaurs are on the island.
Spoilers of the dinosaurs. I was going to say something about them, but anyway, regardless, it doesn't matter. Point being that it's that sort of thing. I just was not there. I was not buying. I was like, this is a waste of everyone's time. Like this, I was just looking at the cast and I'm like, everyone is just like overqualified. And this, I'm like, I'm just not buying these things. I'm not buying this setup. I'm just like, it was just kind of like, it was, as a blockbuster goes, it was kind of a non-starter for me.
Okay. That's fair. And I was going to say, you kind of talked a little bit about, the performers in this, the actors kind of slumming it, like not really understanding why Scarlett Johansson did this. All I will say is that I assume, Colin Jost ain't cheap. He probably wanted an extension on their house or something.
Well, I'm assuming she did this so he could get like 2 more seasons on SNL.
Oh yeah,
because this is Universal, NBC Universal.
Oh yeah,
it's just like, she's a good actress. She can do. We know she can do action. She's done plenty of the MCU stuff. She can do comedy. She can do drama. Like she could do anything. Yeah, this is just such a bummer. To see her out on pressers, like, oh, who are your co-stars, your previous co-stars would could outrun dinosaurs. Maybe I'm just a grump about this. I don't know. I'm just like, my thing is, whatever. Give someone else a chance. I know that's terrible, and it's not her fault. She's gonna take the paycheck, of course, but it really is Universal. Them saying, we know that she's bankable. We're gonna pay her, an 8-figure sum, which is like her character in this movie. It's like they're going for the sure bet, and they want asses in the seats. And I get it. I don't fault them from a business perspective, but I obviously can fault them from a creative perspective,
right? And that's kind of crazy to me too, that the Jurassic World trilogy was bankable. It made a lot of money and everything. Critically, it probably didn't fare that well, but you've got to assume, and we haven't seen what the weekend has done for Jurassic World Rebirth yet, but I mean, just the brand is probably enough to be still has some cash to kind of throw around to be a safe bet. The branding of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, I would assume is enough to get butts in seats. That I don't understand why you need Scarlett Johansson to carry the movie. Especially when you're not doing the due diligence of giving her anything or any of the characters any kind of depth to work with, aside from some lip service to past stuff. There's not much at stake with them emotionally or mentally throughout the movie. It's just them hunting dinosaurs for DNA, and then they have their idealistic side coming through, which is good because it does it does play and pander a little bit too to the kind of science, the science part of the science fiction of the franchise. But it's also something that I feel is everything else plot wise is pretty undercooked. The things that I was entertained by in this movie were the dinosaurs stuff. It wasn't the emotionally or mentally fulfilling movie that the original Jurassic Park was, but I also didn't expect it to be because of the previous 3 movies. So I'm kind of in an interesting place in my life right now for this movie.
That's the thing, is I would have almost respected it more had they gone with 3 people who were whatever, up and coming, or people who were just I'm sorry, don't waste Mahershala Ali's time with this. I don't want to see him and Scarlett Johansson talk about their backstories on the, as mercenaries or whatever.
Yeah.
And, oh, we lost this person, and I lost this person in Yemen. I'm sorry, give me a break. I know they're trying to do this, and they're doing their job, but that's where I'm just just get off it, movie. I don't care.
Yeah.
You don't need to have pathos. And I get actively mad when you try. So just stop.
Yeah.
like, and that's my thing is like, then that's where like, just get other folks in there, give other people a shot. And like, I mean, you bring up a great point. Like, this is already such a reliable brand worldwide that like save $25 million and take out, even, Jonathan Bailey. I don't have a problem with any of those performers. I think they're all talented folks, but it's like, give other people a shot to try to carry their own franchise. Like Scarlett Johansson does not need another franchise,
right?
Like at all. And it's like, what are they going to do if this movie does well? Like, is she going to do another one of these? Like, God, I hope not. Like, that's going to be that's going to be even more depressing if she does more of these. And so, yeah, I think to me, it's a business decision, to have her star in this. And just like these posters are so stupid. Like, she's rappelling off the thing. I'm like, it's like posters. I swear to God, people always make this joke, but it's like posters you'd see on 30 Rock, where it's like, where she's like, she's like bending off a pterodactyl or something, or she's in the cave and like, oh, it's like, this is so depressing. You do not, like 20 years ago, you didn't do this stuff. Why are you doing it now?
Oh yeah.
And you're like the most bankable actress literally out there. Like, this is, anyway. I can't believe it. I mean, and that's just that side of it. I mean, beyond that, I mean, as you say, what I actually can't tell is if the effects in this movie, I think, you know how you get, sometimes you kind of get on a roll, and I was just like, sure. I was like, these effects suck. And it's like, I don't think they necessarily do. I will say, there's something about the look of this movie that just did not vibe with me at all. Apparently they shot it on film, but like, something about the lighting is just really flat to me. And I don't know, you get that a lot with movies that are, where there's a lot of green screen. Of course, there's a lot of effects in this movie, but green screen or not, I don't know. Just something about the look of this, like the lighting is just off. It doesn't have the quote unquote typical, like artificial look of a movie. And maybe that's because like they shot it on film, but it's not lit well. Like, I don't know what it is, but I don't know all of the, the technical aspects of what went into, the cinematography basically, but like, I just know that it wasn't working for me. That much I can say. Yeah. In parts, I felt kind of the same way in particular. And this is a big sticking point that I have for these like big effects driven movies that and I have no way of knowing whether these are reshoots or what, but there are like shots where it's clear that the backdrop is green screen, and it doesn't look, it never really looks as horrendous as it has in the past for a low budget thing. But for a big budget, like multiple hundreds of millions of dollars went into the movie, there's still that like artifact of like, oh, they shot this on a green screen. Like, there, like you said, the lighting, the shading of it, I don't know what it is, but there's something that's like, okay, they're acting in front of a screen. They're not there. And I feel like those are the little blemishes that stick out to me in movies like this, and it stuck out to me with Rebirth. But what I just don't understand is why with all the money can they not fix that one thing? Because everything else I thought looked fine. I thought it looked good. But that one thing just kind of just bothered me in a few points. I'll say that if we're doing, shooting on film is the new vinyl sounds better because it's warm. Stop right now. Yeah. Because I have heard vinyl that does not sound good, and I've heard plenty of CDs that sound better than vinyl. I've seen plenty of movies shot on digital that look better than film. Like, these things are not binary that, if it's shot on film, then it's better. Yeah. No, we used to know how to light stuff for film better. Yes. We used to know how to cut vinyl better and more consistently. We don't now. That's why if you get whatever X pop stars new vinyl in 2025, you're paying more for it, and it's not going to sound any better than the digital version of it necessarily. Yeah. Anything can be done well is the headline here. And stuff can be shot on film and look awesome. Stuff can be shot on digital and look awesome. So this idea, and I only say this because they are putting out these featurettes that, shot on film.
Mhm.
Well, you know what? Shooting on film was really freaking expensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if you do that, then you're cutting costs somewhere else, are you not? So it's just...
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a very fair point. And, here's the thing. I don't throw around the word hero a lot, but I respect and appreciate your willingness to say what I've thought for years and have kind of been hesitant to say, just because it's shot on film doesn't automatically make it better than being shot digitally. Like you hit the nail on the head. Like there's an art form to the way to shoot these films. There's an art form regardless of how you do it. So like by default, just shooting it one way isn't going to give you a free pass to be like, oh, okay, this person is understands and respects film more because they actually shot it on film like the old days. So I'm going to give it a blind 5-star review because, this guy gets it. Because it's an art form. It's an art form just like anything else in this industry. Like I'm a part of it, but in our industry, yes. It's an art form like any other, and if you don't do it right, like it'll still stick out in a negative way. So yeah, I don't know. It bothers me sometimes.
I actually forget who the DP on this is, but I would be very interesting to be a fly or mosquito or mosquito in the is it the marble or what? Not the marble
amber.
Anyway. The amber. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mosquito trapped in the amber on the wall of the executives or whoever had to pitch. Hey, I want to shoot this on film because that is a really tough battle for cinematographers these days, especially on a blockbuster. The amount that they have to shoot.
Oh yeah,
it's film is anyway a million reasons. I mean, it's way different if it's a smaller project. Yeah, and I mean, frankly, I would be bold enough to say at this point, it's a waste of money to shoot a film a movie this big on film because you just need a lot more of it. There's a lot more editing that goes into it, and it's harder to shoot on it. And you have to light it a certain way. And if you don't, anyway, it's my opinion. I don't really look at this movie. That the opinions are going to vary, but objectively, there are reasons why. And this is not a new conversation, by the way. Digital has been the way to go. I mean, quite frankly, not just for the money aspect of it, but for quite a while. Having said that, yes, of course, I love a ton of movies that were shot on film. And I'm not saying, okay, in 2025, it never makes sense to shoot on film. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it doesn't make sense to shoot a Jurassic World movie on film.
Yes.
I can say that I'm pretty comfortable saying that. Just as there's no problem shooting a $5 million movie on digital or whatever. It's not this binary 0-1 thing that, again, because it was shot on film, it's better. It used to be the only way. Now there's more than one way. And it's like an artist discovering a new, whatever canvas. Okay. I'm not an art person, but, whatever, a new, platform. So anyway, the reason I'm saying that is I don't want that to become the thing of, this was shot on film, so you have to see it in a theater. Yeah. What the hell was that A to B? Right. No, that does not necessarily mean that. And and where is this coming from? We know where this is coming from. Yeah. This is coming from Christopher Nolan, all of his films. He's big on shooting on IMAX, which this is not being released in, by the way. This is not being released in IMAX. I would bet that is a cost. They said you can shoot on film or you can release in IMAX. Yeah, they chose as they say in Last Crusade poorly. But it's like, and then that's the other thing. This is also being presented in 3D. Is that maybe why some of the lighting looks flatter? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know all of these things. So the thing I'm just trying to nip in the bud right now is we need to really stop with this marketing that it's 2025 because this is shot on film. It's better. If they're proud of that, that's fine. But that's not what it is. It's they're they're trying to act like cork sniffers and they're shoving it up their butts.
Well said. Absolutely. And like a movie like, oh God, why can't I think? The Leftovers, the Holdovers, like that, I believe was shot on film and had to have been almost, I think. But like a movie like that is supposed to be evocative of that era. Like that works to be shot on film. That works in that kind of, that is worth getting that part of the toolbox out. Like you said, this big budget thing, this big blockbuster is not, it's not it, fam.
I'd have to check. I think that actually probably was shot on digital, but there's certain things that they can do with lighting, color grading. I mean, there's a ton of stuff they can do in post, and I don't know for the Holdovers. I don't actually off the top of my head even know who shot that. But regardless,
it was not shot on film according to AI overview.
but regardless, I mean, they are going for a look there, and it works. So more to really your point, like they are going for a look. You can achieve that. They could have achieved that look probably through film.
Yeah.
But they chose to go digital, and they did it different ways. Either way, the product plays. It works. There's intent and all of those things.
Yes.
Whereas this, I'm sorry. I do not know again who shot Rebirth, but like, I'm gathering that they wanted the challenge for a DP. Hey, like it probably is. There's probably certain things that it's probably fun to shoot on film. I almost said shard on film. But from the marketing perspective, to act like, oh, this is a superior blockbuster because it's shot on film, full stop, and without any, that is the kind of stuff that is like fingernails on the chalkboard to me. Yeah,
exactly. Like, I think that vinyl versus, digital or CD or whatever comparison is great. Because like, oh yeah, I'm sure vinyl is great, but I can't take a record player and headphones into the gym with me. Mostly because I don't have a gym membership, but
otherwise you'd be in there with the portable vinyl player.
Absolutely. Yeah. But John Matheson shot it. He's the DP on the movie. He also shot Gladiator 2, Gladiator, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Detective Pikachu, a lot of stuff, X-Men First Class, also just a lot of Ridley Scott stuff as well.
Some of his stuff doesn't look very good, so I don't know, man. But I mean, some of those movies, I'm sure, like the original Gladiator, generally looks anyway. Regardless, I mean, and that's the thing about cinematographers too, is there can be, they're doing, of course, they're making creative choices, and I'm sure there sometimes is stuff that's focus grouped or studio notes and all that sort of stuff to do. But for the most part, I do think that, cinematographers are trying their best and shooting with intent and all of those things. And again, just because they're shooting a lot of commercial stuff, anything, as we said, can be done well.
Yeah.
Like some of those movies, I don't remember exactly, but like anything can be done well is really the all I'm trying to say. So, all that to say, with this, I wasn't really crazy about the look. And again, even from the trailers, I just kind of felt, I was like, this is just isn't quite there. Solo was another one. And, you look at, that was one to me, Bradford Young is an awesome cinematographer. Shot stuff like Arrival, a lot of, some of, not all of, but some of Denis Villeneuve, some of his other stuff, like very accomplished DP. I hated the look of Solo. Like I hated the look of that movie, and that wasn't, I don't think, shot on film, but like there's just certain times where it's like, it just didn't, certain times where I'm just like, oh my God, I'm not working. I'm not vibing with this on an aesthetic level. Rebirth was definitely an example of that for me.
Interesting. Yeah.
I love we spent 20 minutes talking about the camera work.
About the camera work.
And I'm trying to avoid all of the other elephants and dinosaurs in the room. Yeah.
And like, the funny thing is that like after all of the like 20 minutes of talking about the look of it and everything, my position still stands. I thought it looked good. I was entertained. I thought it was cool. But yeah, there are some things about that. To kind of wrap up non-spoilers, because we got to get into spoilers with this rich plot of and rich three-dimensional characters. To wrap up non-spoilers, what did you think about the plot and the characters, kind of in broad terms, and the direction that this takes the franchise or doesn't take the franchise? Like, how did you feel about those
I think
aspects?
it plays the hits with the characters and the plot. I think it's, getting these, a few different people from different fields or whatever, bringing them into this kind of perilous situation. They're trying to, outwit these creatures that they shouldn't even have to deal with in the first place. Although that's maybe the somewhat interesting wrinkle with this, that, that dinosaurs are at a different place in this movie than they were like in Jurassic Park, of course, when that first came out, whereas like they're kind of almost an afterthought again in this story. So, that's a potentially interesting wrinkle. But yeah, other than that, just plot wise, it comes down. It's a lot like the Alien movies for me, really, where it's like that typical thing of like they're going to another planet, they get hijacked, and it's just, yeah, I just kind of get tired with the same stuff over and over. And again, more to the purposes of this franchise, and this is someone who's not seen Fallen Kingdom or Dominion. What do people want to hear who saw those movies? Yeah. Don't worry about that crap. We're getting back to our normal, our normally scheduled dinosauring here.
Right.
So I get it. Like, it probably functions business-wise well for that. I just, as someone who didn't see those movies, I'm like, okay, same old sort of thing.
Yeah.
That, we had effectively in Park, and really The Lost World, especially of the ones I've seen, this reminds me the most of The Lost World, which I didn't love, but it was shot on film, so it's a better movie, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. Blank check,
as we all know.
Yeah, blank check to a 5-star review.
There you go, exactly, baby. So yeah, it's pretty stock on both counts, I would say, with characters and plot. Yeah,
I would agree with that, even though I still remain, having been entertained by this movie, I ended up rating it 3 stars. Like, yeah, it's a gentleman 3 stars. But I do respect I don't know if I want to say as heavy a word as effort, but I do respect like the idea of trying to return like a little bit of a semblance to that original, because like I said before, this doesn't hold a candle to any of the concepts or intriguing science fiction stuff of the first movie. Like, full stop. This franchise has proven that it will never attain that level of just good science fiction, Amblin entertainment, family drama sort of thing. And I'm content with that. But what I appreciate about this movie is that it is now veered away very much from the marketing aspect, the advertisement, the capitalistic nature of these dinosaurs, as the beginning exposition dump refers to it as, I think, the Neo-Jurassic period or whatever. It gets away from the marketability of that. They touch on that in terms of people not being interested, but it's from a place of someone who's passionate about dinosaurs being discouraged by the fact that the world is not interested in dinosaurs. And that's not coming from a capitalistic standpoint. That's not coming from a marketing standpoint. That's coming from a passion standpoint. And that's something I really, even though it wasn't done as effectively as I would have liked, I think that if they are going to make more, it's a step in the right direction for what I would want to see further entries to be about, because it does flirt with those ideas in a way that if they can harness that, they should really run with it, because that's what makes the first one so special to me.
Yeah. In my review, I kind of read that Jonathan Bailey speech as a different kind of metaphor.
Oh, interesting.
But it's, who knows if that was even intentional. Regardless, this is, I think, a different movie if you're grading it on the scale of like a Jurassic sequel. I'm not really inherently even grading this against Jurassic Park, I think I'm mainly just kind of almost to a sense, like, just whatever, show me what you got. I'm probably grading it closest to like Jurassic World, and I didn't like it nearly as much as that.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And do you want to get into spoilers for Jurassic World Rebirth?
Yeah.
Okay, before we do that, what did you rate it out of 5 stars? And where can people find you online?
I gave it 1.5 out of 5. And you can send your hate mail to Brent at awakeinthedark.com. I don't even know my email address for the site. I think that's what it is. But
sure.
Yeah, awakeinthedark.com is where you can find me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter X, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram here and there. I really only post about once a week. But
sure. Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, we are going to go into spoilers. Like I said, I rated it 3 stars out of 5. I'm going to play a clip from the trailer. If you want to skip the spoiler section and go to my review of The Old Guard 2, check the show notes for timestamps to navigate around the spoilers for Rebirth. Those show notes are also available at obsessiveviewer.com/OV481. So I'm going to play a clip from the trailer. When we come back, we're going to be spoiling Jurassic World Rebirth.
I can guarantee your safety. I mean, more or less.
More or less? He's your guy?
We're the best at moving things and people in and out of places they shouldn't be.
Move up towards Barbados, avoid government patrol, but there aren't that many anymore.
Why's that?
No one's dumb enough to go where we're going.
This island was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park.
We need DNA from the 3 biggest dinosaurs. Do we have to get a sample from an egg? I suppose we could try and get it from the parent, but they're a flying carnivore the size of an F-16.
Maybe we should make it quick.
Okay, so spoilers on for Jurassic World Rebirth. So let's start with some Easter eggs real quick, because Brent, you mentioned that you didn't catch many of them. There are just some like visual callbacks to the original movie in particular, like when the T-Rex is kind of going after the raft, when the little girl is when it's capsized on top of her, like the way that the T-Rex is trying to get at it from the top is reminiscent of the Jeep in the first movie. And then the Rupert Friend's character, Martin, when he drives off with the briefcase, that reminded me of Nedry going to the dock to in the original to escape. And finally, the when the D-Rex or whatever it's called ate him and his arm is there, that was reminiscent of Samuel L. Jackson in the original. And when what's her name, Laura Dern, saw his arm in the movie. So those are the Easter eggs that I picked up on. Does that change your 1.5 out of 5 star review into a 3-star review, Brent?
No, girl.
Okay. Also, the fact that Mahershala Ali is running to get the attention of the D-Rex, which that big ass thing was. I don't know if this is a compliment or a criticism, but it looked like someone in the design team of the movie was like, let's make a xenomorph dinosaur, because it looked a lot like a xenomorph.
It has that sort of head to it.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Which I thought was an interesting design, but I mean, it's to the point where I don't want to see these genetically altered monsters. I want to see dinosaurs. I want it to be the science of it all, but I don't know. Yeah.
That was one thing I didn't know if I was supposed to mention, that they're like mutated dinosaurs. So they're like, kind of lab grown dinos and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I don't care as much about that. And I think you could have something where it's, I don't know, if they have different characteristics or whatever, that could be interesting. But plot wise, I didn't really talk about this in non-spoilers, but like this whole, I mean, it's just a bifurcated narrative between like this stranded family is so stupid. I don't understand why that's a thing that they wanted to do. If they were trying to have this like family in peril element thing, Like, I don't think, quite frankly, any of the characters are interesting. I don't think the acting was amazing. I don't think it was specifically bad, but
right.
It's just a waste of time. I'm sorry. Like, it's nothing that needed to be there. It makes no sense for the plot either, because this family of 4, it's technically family of 3 and then the boyfriend, are stranded because the some of the dinosaurs that are floating or that are swimming in the Atlantic, like, capsize them or whatever.
Yeah.
So the boat picks them up. They have SOS signal. There's this whole moral quandary is whether they should even pick them up. They do. They should drop them off, which they have that thought. And then Rupert is like, no, we got these 2 on the hook. We got to go with them. It's
right.
Like, that is so stupid. If this guy had such a critical, this secret op that they can't even know people are there, it's like, or whatever, this whole thing of like, if it's such a dangerous thing, there's no reason that you would pick up this family and have them come along.
Yeah.
That is just so, that is just so
nonsensical.
Stupid. I just thought that's such nonsense plotting.
Yeah.
And I know that it's to get this family on the island so we can have this whole other thing, but just fundamentally, like, okay, fine, they're on the island. We have 2 groups of people. Who am I going to care about more? The people who are actually running the mission and going after these dinosaurs and doing what they meant to accomplish, or this family that's just trying to survive? Like, I'm sorry if this is cynical of me, but like, I do not care about like the family that didn't even want to be there in the first place.
Right.
That's not interesting to me. I mean, maybe if the characters had some juice and, whatever, if the acting was really something, if there was something there, then maybe, but it feels so, it really bifurcated. That word where it's like, well, we got to cut away from ScarJo and the gang for 10 minutes because we have to have them make friends with Dolores. It's like, I don't care about any of this stuff. And it's, to me, where it's like, that's why this is so clunky to me, where they're trying to have these plot mechanics that worked in Jurassic Park. And it's like, don't even bother, because that's such a different movie.
Yeah.
It's like, don't treat this movie as your, and David kept coming back to go write this. It's like, times have changed, man. Like, we don't need to do the family in peril bit for this.
Yeah.
Like, people are here for the dinosaurs and with the people who are trying to, like, you cut them out, that's like at least a half hour of plot.
Yeah.
That you're getting back, and you can maybe add another 15-20 minutes with the mission gang. That would probably get me a little more up to like where you want me, around like the 3 range. Because like, if it is what it is, and we're just doing the dino hunting, I know they're not killing them, but know, dino collecting, I could maybe get on board with that. I'd still be miffed that it would be these people doing it, just because I feel like they're massively overqualified. I could get there, but that stuff, like, it was a slog to me, like, just watching them, like, and the T-Rex stuff, to me, that's just like, okay, like, I don't care. I don't know. I just, I fundamentally, if you can't understand, I mean, if people are listening, or if no one's picking up on this yet, I don't really like dinosaur movies all that much. I'm not like a huge fan. Like, again, Jurassic Park, it's a different beast, so to speak, and it's its own thing, and it's like, that's a different thing. But like, I guess it's all to say, like, my ceiling is relatively low for these movies. But it was not there for me. It still just didn't get there.
And that's totally fair. And what's interesting is like, I'm gonna come down somewhat in the middle. Like, it's what's interesting to me is that I bought into that family thing, not hook, line, and sinker, but like I alluded to in the non-spoilers, I respected the swing. I respected them trying to, albeit somewhat, shoehorn in a Spielbergian sort of adventure. And to do that, they had this family in peril, because who wants to just follow just these mercenaries just doing this thing without having that emotional connection or attempting an emotional connection to like a family or whatever. the problem that arises from that is the reason why that's so effective in, say, the original movie or even The Lost World is in that original movie, it is a character who does not want children in a relationship with someone who loves children being suddenly thrust into a father or parent, father figure role trying to protect children. And that ups the stakes, that ups the emotional impact, because we see Alan Grant grow into like a person who like is a good leader for the kids and being like a good protector and everything, and kind of learning his learning a certain fatherhood side of him, a side that he didn't know that he had. And that's such an interesting and compelling character arc for him. Here, we've got just completely completely solo plot lines like that don't intersect. And like I had mentioned that it feels like at times it feels like that whole family subplot is afterthought or is reshoots or added in like late in the game, because like there are moments where like there's a moment where they get the last sample and Scarlett Johansson is like, oh, let's go home. Okay, let's go home. And it's like, there's a family here that you're not like that you know is there. Like no one cares about this family with a young child. And then when they join up, it's like, it's fine. But I don't know. I'm a little bit torn on that because the movie doesn't do enough. The plot doesn't do enough to convince me why it was a good idea to bring them to the island. Because there is no fucking reason why aside from greed. And like, I don't know. I wish that it was more, I wish that it was better handled in a more convincing way to keep them on the mission. And like the idea of like Rupert Friend wanting the kid to fall off it so that he can protect his secret and everything. I wish that was like a little bit more prominent and not just like a lot of things in the movie wasn't just like a thing that they introduced and then they gave lip service to, and then they played out in a very conventional way.
Yeah, and that's the thing is this movie's idea of character development, which is like what you brought up about like, you know, Dr. Grant, that stuff, like, yeah, you're right. Like him being a surrogate father, that is an arc. And I mean, this doesn't really have arcs. The closest thing it has to that is these stupid moral quandaries that are like, should we pick up the family or not? It's like, okay, well, yes, but then drop them off somewhere. Someone even says that. And then plot contrivance, so we can't because movie, you know. Or in terms of moral quandaries, like, no, we should give this to the people. Like, okay, can we unpack that for just a second?
That was too vague for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh my God. So the idea that this pharmaceutical company that Rupert Friend works for, they are developing this heart drug that can prevent heart disease and it'd be worth a ton of money. Okay. My understanding is they're pretty far along in terms of the development of it, or at least the idea behind it, and they need these essential 3, you know, blood components. So Jonathan Bailey gets all moralistic, and he's like, well, "No, what are we going to do? Hand it over to him? He's just going to make this drug that's going to make a lot of money." Okay, no, we have to give it to the people. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah, like I don't know what the fuck I'd do with it.
Right. Yeah, we're just going to split up this dino blood. Like, even if you contract it out to scientists or whatever, they haven't been doing this research that this pharmaceutical. I mean, I know this makes me sound like big shill and like, oh yeah, big pharma, trust them, they know what they're doing. But in the context of this film, it makes zero sense to say, oh, we need to give this to everyone. Like, okay, yeah, that's very moral, high horsey of you, but it makes zero actual sense.
What they should have done and could have done is, instead of doing that lip service to the moralistic, idealistic sort of end game of it, is maybe develop the characters a little more and make it be a thing where instead of the decision of whether or not they get a huge payday or they give it to like the science community and open source it, maybe the defining thing, maybe the big thing that they can do is try to, like, I guess Ebenezer Scrooge, Rupert Friend, like be like, this is why the world needs this. This isn't something you can profit off of and make a ton of money for the like billionaire class and everything. This is something that everyone needs, and have it be about him growing a conscience or what have you. Not
sure.
Yeah.
I'm game for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do something where it's not just he shows up with a gun at the end and says, I'll be taking this now. I mean, it's just like, this is, come on, like we can do better. I mean, that's kind of where speaking of moralizing, like that's where I came down on my review. It's like, we can do better. We can expect more blockbusters. Like these are lazy tropes. Like we used to be able to do this better. I'm not even going to pull that crap. I'm not even going to say used to. There are blockbusters that still can do this well. Yeah. And in some cases do this well. So like this should not be considered a lost art. And for me, it's just like, sorry, it means I got to call it out when I see it.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because I think that this is lightly, at least, or loosely, like an interesting example of some of the ways that, the world as we live in it informs movies. So like I've talked a lot about like in the past about, I think like 2016, there were a bunch of movies about like the 1% getting comeuppance, like Ready or Not and Knives Out and movies like that. I think that was 2019, actually, 2019. Like those movies coming out that go after like the social satire of like the like elite, the massively rich and everything. So what I find interesting about this, and what I'm seeing a pattern emerge, at least if you can call two movies a pattern, Jurassic Rebirth kind of touches on some of the themes that I didn't really care all that much for this movie, but I feel like was explored better in Death of a Unicorn. Like the idea of taking like a miracle cure and like having ethics around it and like how like to monetize it or not monetize it and everything. Like that's something that is done as a subtext and as a main theme of a movie in Death of a Unicorn much better than it is here, because here it's just being paid lip service instead of being really like committed to exploring the ethics of it and the right and wrong of it all, and morals of it. So
I wasn't a huge fan of that movie either, but I think that movie is a better Jurassic Park movie than Jurassic World Rebirth is. I really mean that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's just all of that to say that, it's just, it just a lot of this is lazy. I think that, again, we're obviously just coming at it from two perspectives. I can see, if Dominion was just horrible and just really just didn't do anything right, coming to this and being like, well, I know what this is. Like I can taste these flavors and it's maybe derivative, but is what it is. Whereas for me, I'm just like, okay, what are we doing now? Another dinosaur movie? Like this sucks. I'm just like, whereas like I'm being jostled awake. Like I have to see this frickin' movie because nothing else is in theaters. So I guess we're just kind of different.
And I mean, I will again, I'm standing by my 3 stars, but I will also contend like there is a little bit of magic to it in terms of the dinosaurs represented in it, aside from like the mutated ones and everything. Like the T-Rex, like seeing a T-Rex sleeping is so interesting to me. I don't think I've ever seen that in a Jurassic Park movie. Maybe it has and I just brushed it aside, but like seeing it like laying down and sleeping is like really interesting to me, and seeing it kind of wading through the water like a kaiju monster is really, really interesting to me. So like I get little nuggets of those interesting things there. And also
the mating scene was cool. That was neat the way they showed that. Kind of like Avatar a little bit, where they kind of had like the tendrils or whatever. That was cool. Like that was something that, okay, yes, it's Caribbean, the John Williams score, because of course it is. But at least it's trying to recapture the majesty and wonder, of Park. So I can respect those plays. That's the thing to your point. Like, I don't know where they're really going to go with this. I don't think they're going to be able to get ScarJo back for one more of these, certainly not for 2. So I don't know. They're probably just going to try to see where this goes. They're going to make their money and probably decide from there. But I'm just probably going to check out for the next 2 chapters and I'll see you in 2045 or whatever it is. And,
sure. Final thing about it. Final thing about it. The one thing that really bothered me was the prologue of the movie. That opening scene of the research facility, the guy inside.
God. Yes. Uh-huh.
Like, I liked the way that it was done in terms of showing him dying, but they held on to it way too long. And the suspense of it didn't really rise to the occasion for me. But it is such a non sequitur in the entire movie. The entire time I was expecting like they were going to, and maybe this is in a previous draft of the script, but like I was expecting like that woman to show up and be like having lived in the jungle amongst the dinosaurs and be like a guide for the family or a guide for the for ScarJo and her crew, but nothing.
Yeah, no, there's just random people.
Completely random, completely unconnected. There is, for the record, there is not a post-credit scene in this. There's nothing tying that beginning to anything in the movie aside from the fact that like, oh, the D-Rex got out. And like, it's just, it was bothersome to me.
My 2 things about that is, one, this Snickers wrapper gets sucked into this vent of this door and the entire security system shuts down. Not just the gate for the D-Rex, but literally, at least if I'm looking at the screens right, all of the enclosures that they're in automatically fail.
Yes.
And I mean, that right there, even Newman himself, Wayne Knight from Park couldn't act that maliciously and have that poor of a system. So that was stupid. But so that was ridiculous. But also, what I hate, actually, surprisingly, even more about that, it is such an ambilism. I just made up a word. Sure. It is such a classic Spielbergian, this like thing happens and like, oh, it's such an innocuous thing, this like thing happened and like this catastrophe. I hated that. I hated it more for that. I mean, it was so stupid that the whole thing would shut down, but I hated more that it was just like trying to crib this style of storytelling that frankly I think you can do effectively. Yeah. I mean, the Duffer Brothers have been doing it for 5 seasons now or whatever. Like you can do it fine, but like it was, to me, it started the movie off on such a bad note where I was like, if this is going to try to do Spielberg, we're going to be in real trouble. I will say that I don't think the rest of the movie does as much. I think maybe you could argue points maybe that it does. You could even argue like that whole family in peril thing is effectively kind of a Spielbergian type of storytelling. But regardless, like that just rubbed me so the wrong way from go. And then, to have it effectively mean nothing. It was just, it put me off the movie pretty early.
That's fair. I was more optimistic about it because I really thought that she was going to pop up, and like even to the point where when Mahershala Ali like finds like those steps to go down, I was thinking like, oh, is there going to be like a village or like a civilization or something, and is she going to be a part of it? And like I thought I had all these big ideas, and then really it just boiled down to... I would have potentially
even been okay with that. Just something. Give me something that's not just, there.
Yeah. But it just boils down to like, oh, hey, we're going to introduce these characters. You're not going to get to know them, but you're going to get to know the vibe of the movie because we're not going to really develop any of the other characters. So, So I feel like on rewatch, I'll probably lower it like below 3 stars, but for the most part, I did enjoy myself because the bar was so low from Dominion and Fallen Kingdom. So overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. Yeah. Anything else on Jurassic World Rebirth?
No, I don't think so. I haven't rewatched Jurassic World. I can't imagine I'll be coming back to this anytime soon. I'm glad people enjoy these for what they are. I honestly think this is the one where I can be like, I think for a bit, I'm probably okay to continue taking a break, and
Sure.
and like I said, maybe I'll come back in 20 years and be like, oh, let's see, we'll try again. Maybe they'll do great. Who knows? But
Sure.
I think I'm probably good for a bit.
Okay, that's fair. Until I enlist you to come back for Jurassic World.
Rebirth.
Afterbirth.
Renaissance. Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah. Yep. All right. Well, that will do it for our review of Jurassic World Rebirth. Stay tuned for my secondary review of The Old Guard 2. But before we do that, we're going to bid adieu to Brent Leuthold. Once again, Brent, thank you so much for joining me. And also, can you tell people where they can find you online?
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Awakeinthedark.com. It's the best place to find me. I'm on all the traditional social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, all of those. Check it out.
Nice. All righty. Well, thank you so much, Brent, and stay tuned for my review of The Old Guard 2. And before we get to our secondary review, I want to take a quick moment to remind you that if you like the show, please take a moment to follow us on social media and subscribe to and rate the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or whatever your preferred podcast app is. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel over at Obsessive Viewer Podcasts on YouTube as well, where I have some videos up there and live streams of podcasts and video versions of this, like video versions with just the logo in the background of all the podcasts on there. So check that out at Obsessive Viewer Podcast on YouTube. And if you're interested in starting a podcast of your own, you can go to Libsyn and use the promo code OBSESS when you sign up for a new account. You'll get up to 2 months free depending on when you sign up during the month, and we'll get a commission on it as well. More details on that in the show notes of this episode. And now back to the show.
They tell me I view obsessively.
Okay, and before I actually get to the secondary review, I do need to share some interesting news that came up in the interim between recording with Brent and recording now. That was a couple of days ago, so behind the curtain, it's now July 4th. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So I believe in that first segment, in the first part of this episode, I talked about how much I want Throne of Blood to be in theaters and how I probably won't be able to get a chance to see that until its anniversary screenings in 2027. Well, there is now going to be several 4K restorations of Akira Kurosawa movies touring in theaters this summer. So Janus Films, the distributor, they posted a trailer of, I guess it's 9 films from Kurosawa that have been, restored into 4K. I think a couple of them are in 2K. But they're going to be touring in theaters this coming month, like here in a couple of weeks, July 18th to the 31st. For 2 weeks, it's going to be showing, all 9 movies are going to be showing at Film Forum in New York City, which is not where I am, but in August, they're going to be playing at the Music Box in Chicago, which I would consider driving up for certain ones. But I'm hoping like the Can or something gets these movies. But basically the 9 movies that are going to be screened in this kind of touring, retrospective theatrical release are Ikiru, Seven Samurai, Stray Dog, which I'm so excited because Stray Dog's amazing. It's neo-noir, post-war Japan noir movie. It's a masterpiece. Stray Dog, The Hidden Fortress, Rashomon, Throne of Blood, High and Low, Yojimbo, and Sanjuro. So the possibility that I might be able to see several more Kurosawa movies in a theater this year has given me life. I'm very excited about that. So hopefully they come to Indianapolis, but check it out. I'll put a link to the trailer that was released from Janus Films in the show notes of the episode. But I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about the prospect of that, especially because, in particular, Throne of Blood. Like, I will, if I can, I will make an effort to see every single one of these in the theater, if they are available to me. But I'm most excited about Throne of Blood because it's like my second favorite Kurosawa movie, and it's incredible. So link to the trailer for all of that is in the show notes of the episode. And now let's get to the secondary review. It's going to be a non-spoiler review of The Old Guard 2. And since it's going to be non-spoiler, I'm going to go ahead and play a clip from the trailer to bring us into it. So here's a clip from the trailer. When I come back, I'm going to be talking The Old Guard 2.
For centuries, I've watched you fight to protect humanity, while forsaking your own kind. I will destroy you and everything you stand for with a power you can't even imagine yet. Who is she?
All right, and The Old Guard 2 is streaming on Netflix. It was released on Netflix on July 2nd, 2025, and it is the sequel to the 2020 movie The Old Guard, which is based on a graphic novel series from Image Comics, I believe. The premise for The Old Guard 2, according to IMDb, is Andy leads immortal warriors against a powerful enemy threatening their group. They grapple with the resurfacing of a long-lost immortal, complicating their mission to safeguard humanity. This movie's director was Victoria Mahoney, and the writers were Greg Rucka and Sarah L. Walker. I believe Greg Rucka is also the writer of the original graphic novel series. And the cast includes Charlize Theron, Kiki Lane, Matthias Schoenaerts, Marwan Kenzari, Luca Marinelli, Veronica Ngo, Henry Golding, Uma Thurman, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. So I reviewed The Old Guard, the original The Old Guard, with Fecus back in 2020. That was summer 2020. I'm not sure what episode it was on, but I believe it was the secondary review of that episode. Yeah, it was the secondary review. It was episode 322 in August 2022 or 2020. So anyway, that was episode 322 that we reviewed The Old Guard. In the interim between then and now, I had no memory of the movie. I didn't remember hardly anything about the movie, so much so that I didn't really want to go back and revisit it. So I read the Wikipedia plot summary and checked my letterbox to see what I wrote about it in 2020. And I got the gist of it. It was fine. This is The Old Guard 2 is 100% a continuation of the story for sure. So it would do you well to go and rewatch the original or brush up on it in whatever other way you need to. So because of that, this movie wasn't that good. I didn't really care that much for it. It's fine. It's totally serviceable. It's fine. But I feel like I didn't really have that much to talk about it in the first one because it's very serviceable. The idea surrounding it of being a group of immortal people that are defending humanity or defending the world or saving the world clandestinely from whatever, they're mercenaries essentially. That's really pretty interesting as a concept, but the movie just it's just kind of standard fare. It's kind of cliched. It feels a little bit dull and not that interesting. The concept alone of just immortal mercenaries is the driving force of the story for sure. But what it does is it is something that is just, it's trying to skate by on the concept alone. And that was probably my biggest sticking point for the first movie in 2020. Here, to The Old Guard 2's credit, it does continue that story in a pretty interesting way, I guess, by furthering the lore, furthering the backstories, furthering the kind of mythology surrounding these immortal beings and everything. And that's fine. That's solid. That's interesting enough for what this movie is. But it's not enough to really motivate me into really latching onto it as a property. I would honestly say that if you were to take the Old Guard 1 and the Old Guard 2 and push them together into one reasonably feature-length movie, cut out a lot of the stuff that doesn't really, that kind of feels a little fillery. Like there's a whole set piece at the beginning of this movie that's standard action movie set piece where it's just reintroducing us to the group. It's kind of establishing like what they are, what they do, and everything. And it's a good set piece. It's pretty much, it's what you would expect from a bigger budgeted, action movie that's really that's really focused on the choreography and everything. Like it's not John Wick level, like acrobatics and stuff, but it's serviceable in its own right. It's a good Netflix action movie. We'll say that, which that can be derogatory or what have you. However you want to read it is however I mean it. But that is kind of just feels superfluous. And that's a problem with really any kind of action movie franchise or anything. Like, I mean, well, even the Avengers, like Age of Ultron, I think of like this movie's prologue being similar to Age of Ultron's prologue, where it's just basically like a big mission on Sokovia or that castle in Sokovia. I don't remember or whatever, but it's fun, it's flashy and everything. At least in that circumstance, it does factor in somewhat to the main plot, but it definitely factors into the main plot. But anyway, here, this is just a superfluous thing where it's like, okay, there's an arms deal that's going down. We need to stop it. We're infiltrating this estate. And then after the fact, they find out who the buyer is for it. And it turns out that does factor into the plot. But it introduces a new villain played by Uma Thurman, who has some history with the Immortals. And there's some lore that's expanded upon that isn't done in a very interesting way either elsewhere. So it just kind of feels a little bit clunky overall. It feels very cluttered. So one of the big things, I guess, spoilers for the original The Old Guard, not The Old Guard 2, but one of the big things in the original movie is that I'll be as light as I can. One of the characters loses their immortality, so they are now mortal. And so throughout this movie, you're dealing with that character, dealing with the fact that they are now mortal and that they could potentially die in one of these excursions and everything. So there's an adjustment thing there, but it's also just kind of lightly done. It makes the action sequences pretty thrilling because when you have immortals fighting, what's the point? But here it does up the stakes a little bit. But there's an element to the movie that kind of directly ties into that concept, but the whole idea of immortals not losing their immortality. That plays into it, and there's some things that are revealed or expanded upon with that kind of central idea. That's done in on paper, and it's an effective extension of it. It's an effective expansion of the rules of this universe, but the way that it's done, I'm kind of mixed on, because the way that it's done is it is just explained to us via dialogue. Like, oh, okay, well, here's this thing, this theory, this concept. This means one thing, and this means that because of this, someone can do this to someone else. And that's just explained point blank to us. And then when it resurfaces later, granted, it's done so in a way that is solid. Like it's a good kind of unexpected switch up for us. But it's also just kind of like, okay, well, we kind of, I guess, I'm going to retract that. I don't have really that big of a problem with that expansion of the lore, because honestly, it's fine. It's fine for what this movie is, which is a solid Netflix action movie, but it does just feel a little bit rote, a little bit kind of perfunctory and cliched to an extent. My other big issue with this movie is that while we do get some good character stuff, we get some good beats through from the characters and the camaraderie among this team of immortals, the old guard, it's really pretty solid. Like you get the sense that they have fought for centuries and that they've been a team and together for such a long time. And so you get the idea that, yeah, they care for each other. They are a team. They're a unit that work together. And you get that, but the biggest problem I have with the movie is that it's not really complete in a sense, because it does leave us with the very much the expectation of an Old Guard 3. So much so, like, it's not necessarily a thing where, like, oh, okay, they're hinting at something for the Old Guard 3. It's a thing where the events of this movie are unresolved, and so there needs to be an Old Guard 3, because we're literally leaving off on characters going out into battle, essentially, to resolve the plot of this movie. And that's annoying. That's annoying, especially when you consider that the Old Guard came out in 2020. This came out in 2025. I don't know if we have to wait until 2030 for me to forget everything about this movie and then review the Old Guard 3 and struggle through it like I am with this one. But it's really, I don't know. It's a little annoying, honestly. It's a little annoying, and I would much rather have it be something like the ending of Back in Action from earlier this year that I think I reviewed on the podcast. That leaves off on this very cheeky sort of like, oh, this is a revelation about something, or this is something that, like, oh, we're going to use this to potentially do a Back in Action 2. I may have criticized that in the moment with the first with Back in Action, but now with this type of ending to the Old Guard 2, I'm like looking back on that a little fondly. So I don't know. I think that, and I'm speaking in generalities now. In a general sense, I just feel like there is a tendency for movies like this to end in such a way that doesn't necessarily, like, it's under the veneer of like a cliffhanger ending to a TV episode. And, like, that's great. I love that kind of television storytelling and everything. So it's done in such a way that it's like, okay, now you've got to wait for the next episode. You've got to wait for the next installment of this franchise. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, unless, like, as long as it's a foregone conclusion. As long as there's, like, if the Old Guard 2 and the Old Guard 3 were filmed back to back, yeah, that would be fine. But when things like this happen, where they have, like, an unresolved plot line, and they leave off on a cliffhanger, or they leave off on a way that makes sense that there needs to be a third one, it feels less like a distinctive narrative choice and more like the people involved are pitching the next movie to the studio. Like, and that's not a way to make art. That's not a way to tell a story. And granted, this is based on a graphic novel. So for all I know, like, the second series of the Old Guard could end this exact same way. And then the third one resolves it and everything. I don't know how closely this is adapted from the source material, but it just feels it feels less like a case where we're like, oh my God, I can't believe what I can't wait to see what happens next with the Immortals, with the Old Guard in the next installment. It feels more like just like I said, it feels like the filmmakers are saying, okay, this is what we did this time, and will you please greenlight a third one so we can do more of this? It just feels it feels like commerce instead of art, and it sucks for something that's not like that artistically interesting as the Old Guard 2 is. It's a bummer because it stands out more when you're looking at it from a perspective of like, okay, they were just wanting to make a third one, or that's where it's leaving off at. Like, it was to the point that the climax of the movie was happening, and I noticed like, oh, I have 30 minutes left. And then when that resolved in the way that it does, I was like, okay, so now we're going to get to the real climax of the movie. And I looked and I have 12 minutes left. I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay, fine, whatever. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag. I am going to rate this 2.5 stars out of 5, which is honestly, it's actually half a star higher than I rated the Old Guard, the original, the Old Guard. So I don't know. I guess I didn't my attention wasn't waning throughout this movie the way that I expected it to. So that's something that I can kind of put a feather in its cap for. Whenever the Old Guard 3 comes out, again, probably going to review it on here and do this whole thing again. But I'm not looking forward to it, and I guarantee that I will have forgotten what happened in the Old Guard 2 by that time. So that is probably not the ringing endorsement that Netflix and company want to hear about the Old Guard 2, but I mean, it's a laundry movie. It's a doing the dishes movie, with some pretty stylish action throughout it. But it does get kind of hampered by trying to make compelling the lore expansion that is in and of itself interesting enough, but because it's on just kind of against the backdrop of a pretty conventional or cliched kind of action movie and action franchise, it doesn't really hook me the way that it should. So that's my review of the Old Guard 2, and I'm not going to do a potpourri section because I actually have my laundry drying, so I'm going to have to get that out here in just a moment. So anyway, having said all of that, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Obsessive Viewer podcast. Once again, thank you so much to Brent Leuthold for joining me for the beginning of this episode, the majority of this episode, and our review of Jurassic World Rebirth. Once again, check out Brent's work over at awakeinthedark.com and on Letterboxd at the username of awakeinthedark. And he also runs all of the IFJ social media stuff, so interact with that stuff, like the posts and everything, because he graciously does a lot of work to share our stuff on the IFJ channels. So that is it for this week's episode. Thanks again to Brent, and I'm going to start playing myself out. As always, thank you so much for listening, and make sure to follow the show on social media and subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast app. Also, check out our other shows, Tower Junkies and Anthology, available wherever you get your podcast. Links in the show notes. Next week on the show, the plan is to review Disney Pixar's new movie, Elio, and the secondary review will be for a Minecraft movie. So check that out next week. Until then, thank you for listening. And now, enjoy this short clip from a recent Patreon exclusive episode. For the full episode and more Patreon exclusive content, sign up at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. That's such a good point about it being a thing where, like, oh yeah, they'll drop a bunch of money to pay influencers and fly influencers out to, like, red carpet premieres and stuff so that they can get the word out and stuff. But then some, like, not even a critic getting paid, but someone saying online, like a fan of a movie saying that, oh, the critics were paid to trash it because, you know, every opinion needs to be my exact opinion. Someone says that and it's like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, they shouldn't do this and everything. It's like, it's also the state of the world. Like, one person says something and there are thousands of idiots who will just believe it point blank. That extends far beyond, like, influencers versus critics or whatever. But, like, thank you for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast. This episode was produced and edited by me, Matt Hurt. If you have feedback, thoughts on our episodes, or just want to connect, you can email me at matt@obsessiveviewer.com. For more information on this show, including a full archive of our episodes and show notes, visit obsessiveviewer.com. And if you enjoyed the show, please give us a follow on social media and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice so you never miss an episode. Also, consider rating and reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Audible to help increase our visibility and grow our community. If you want to support the show and get early access to new episodes, as well as a steady stream of exclusive episodes, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. For information on more podcasts presented by obsessiveviewer.com, visit obsessiveviewer.com/podcasts. Our theme song is A Little Mad Sometimes by As Good As It Gets. For more of their music, check them out on Spotify and at asgoodasitgetsmusic.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn. Check out the show notes for your promo code to get started podcasting today.